Hello everybody! Today I want to share with you my tips on making professional and cinematic videos on GoPro camera. I have experience working with the GoPro Hero 5 camera, but many things I'm going to say are also relevant to other models of GoPro. First, let's begin with the pros and cons of this camera compared to big cameras with interchangeable lenses. If you have a big camera, a lot of equipment, it's hard to carry around. You should come to the location, assemble it all, then make shooting with this heavy equipment, disassemble, put it back in the suitcase. And with GoPro it's much easier. You can walk around, you can carry it in your pocket, take it out whenever you want, and start shooting with one push of a button. You don't have to do many settings to make shooting. I have my settings in this camera, and when I come to the location where I want to shoot, I just switch it on and shoot. I don't do any extra settings. I'll talk about my settings in a few minutes in this video. If you have a big camera, you have to protect it from water, from dust and dirt, but this camera is waterproof. You can shoot in any weather conditions. You can shoot with it under the rain, in the snow. You can take this camera and jump into the sea and it will continue shooting. It gives you much more freedom. If you suddenly drop this camera, it's probably gonna be okay. And the big camera is more likely to be broken. Even if you break this camera, it's not a big deal, it's not very expensive. You can get a new camera almost everywhere. But if you break your big camera, it's probably gonna be the end of your shooting. And now about the downside of this camera. The lens is fixed, you cannot change it. And it's a wide angle lens. It has some wide angle distortion. You don't have a narrow depth of field with this lens. And you still can make close-up shots, but they will not be as beautiful as on big cameras. But this is basically the only downside which you have. As a bottom line, this camera gives you much more freedom to be creative. And now my tips for making cinematic and professional videos. First tip, you should use gimbal stabilizer for your camera. Something like this. There are a lot of devices on the market, a lot of manufacturers of such devices. It's not very expensive, but it reduces the shake of your camera. It makes your video smooth and professional, so you really should get this thing. My second tip is about the movement. You should move your camera. Camera movement is really important for the video. If you pay close attention to any big movie, you will find that almost in each shot camera moves. There is hardly one static shot in the whole movie, because this really looks cool. So you should also move your camera, but you shouldn't move your camera chaotically like this. Remember the rule: one shot has one movement. Examples of movements. You can pan your camera from left to right, from right to left. You can tilt your camera up or down. You can follow the object forward, backward, sideways. You can orbit your object. But one shot, only one movement. Let's say you're making such movement, you're moving from... Sorry, battery of my light went down. So we'll continue. Let's say you're moving the camera from left to right, and at some point you make a small adjustment, you move your camera up and then continue your moving. You shouldn't take the whole shot in your final video. Take only part when the camera moves straight, and leave your adjustments out of your final video. Next tip is about environment of your shooting. This camera needs much light. It's better you shoot outdoors in the daytime. If you're shooting indoors, pay attention that everything is properly lit. Otherwise you're going to have a noise in your video and it's going to be of bad quality. Next tip is about really great feature of this small camera. It is able of shooting 120 frames per second. And it is a really cool thing. If you're shooting 120 frames per second and your final video is 24 frames per second, then you can make your video slower 5 times. And it looks really professional, it looks really cool. Especially if you add a proper music to it. This is a video which I shot in Spain. We are working in Zaragoza. This shot is not very special. Probably I would throw it away, but when I slowed it down, it looked really cool. This shot became meaningful. It looks great. It got into my final video. There is one other cool thing which you can do. You can make a speed ramp effect. Speed ramp, it's when camera quickly moves to the object, it slows down, object moves in slow motion, and then camera speeds up and quickly moves away. It also looks really cool with proper music and proper sounds. It's cool, it's great, it's professional, and I definitely recommend you use it. Settings of the camera. Shoot at narrow angle. It reduces the distortion effect of wide angle lens. Leave your color flat, sharpness low. ISO I usually set at 4000. It's suitable for daytime, but if the temperature is not correct, then I can fix it in editing. Resolution is 1920 to 1080. It's full HD resolution. If you have all your video at 120 frames per second, with any shot you can make it slow motion, so you have much freedom in editing. And about shutter speed. Usually I set it at auto mode. And GoPro makes a really good job of adjusting the exposure. But sometimes you can get such shot when you move from dark place to a light place and camera adjusts the exposure during the shot. You shouldn't take it in your final video. If I edit and I see that camera adjusted the exposure, I cut it out and throw away. Sometimes I can expect that camera will probably adjust the exposure. In this case, I lock the exposure and make shooting, and there will be no adjustment of exposure. My final tip is really obvious. Take your time in editing. You should find proper music, work on your colors, work on sounds of your video, and it's going to be really cool and professional. That's it for today. If you have any questions about GoPro or shooting on this camera, you can leave them in the comments. I wish you great shootings and see you in the next video. Bye.